We are here at the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival with the chair of the Department of Theater and Dance at the College of Charleston, Todd McNerney. Thank you so much for your time, Todd.
Sure, you're welcome.
All right, well, we're just going to get right into it. What exactly is the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival, also known as KCACTF?
Well, it is the only festival, only organization in the country that celebrates students and student theater of all variety and kind in higher education. So specifically, it covers the kinds of schools that teach theater from community colleges, two-year colleges, all the way through four-year colleges, undergraduate programs, graduate programs. Annually, it involves on the order of 600 to 800,000 students across the country. We are actually at the Region 4 Festival. The country is divided up into 8 different regions, and South Carolina and our school are in Region 4. And then out of each of those regions, there are student works of different aspects of the theater that are recognized as winners that then can be invited to a national festival that occurs in April at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. So representatives from each region find their way to the Kennedy Center every spring.
Now, you mentioned that the festival incorporates many different aspects of theater. What sort of competitions exist at KCACTF?
Well, really, there's competitions for nearly, and I'm hesitating because I think it's actually every aspect of the theater. There's an acting competition called the Irene Ryan Acting Scholarship Acting Competitions, because there's a cash prize that is awarded at the regional level and at the national level. There are competitions in all of the various design aspects of the theater, a costume design, in set design, in lighting design, even props and sound design now. There are competitions in playwriting and at various levels of playwriting, 10-minute play, short play, or one-act play, like we used to call it back in the day, and even full-length plays. There is, and I kind of remember, when I first got involved in this, how it sort of surprised me, but there's actually it's now called the Institute for Theater Journalism and Advocacy program, which is in some ways about teaching students how to write criticism about the theater. So it's, from a practitioner of the theater, it can seem a little odd that the critic, the person in the paper who might hate what I do, is actually a part of the whole process. But they really are. They're part of what we do. And it's necessary to, I guess, the festival's perspective, and one I agree with, is that it's necessary to train students in being good critics for the sake of the theater, thus the advocacy aspect.
Now, how long exactly has the college participated in KCACTF?
Well, that is a little difficult for me to give you the most precise of answers. We have participated at various levels of involvement for quite some time. Easily back into the early 1990s. We almost always, or we began, at least as far as I know, by participating in playwriting. So for many, many, many years, we didn't do much of anything at all except have students submit 10-minute plays. And or short plays. So there were times really when the only people coming from the College of Charleston were student playwrights. And then about 1999 or 2000, we began participating a little more heavily. Participating with Irene Ryan's, getting students nominated. There's a little bit of cost to an institution for participating, because you have to register productions at your home school, and then visiting, they're called respondents, but visiting professionals in theater, quite often faculty from other institutions, come to see our plays, and out of seeing the work on our campuses, they make recommendations and nominations for people to be able to participate at the regional level. And in order to be registered as a KCACTF production, there's a per show fee that a school has to pay. So we began committing that resource, that money, about 2000-ish. So 13, 14 years in a really, in the kind of way that we are now.
In that time, what aspects of theater has the college generally excelled in more than others?
I would say it's differed from year to year in a lot of different ways. We still have a very strong record in playwriting. We from like a, I guess, which students have made the national festival perspective. We've had on 3 occasions students win the theater journalism and advocacy at the regional level. It used to be called the Critics Institute. So they won the region and then went on to participate in the national, and in 2 cases that those students won the national and then were invited to the Eugene O'Neill Center in the summer for a workshop on writing theater criticism. We've had, I think, maybe just 1 student win the region in dramaturgy, maybe 2, and then go on to the national. And the 1 student that I can recall won a national award in dramaturgy as well. We have had student playwrights win the 10-minute category in our region, the short play category, and the full-length category. We have not, as far as I know anyway, ever had a student win one of the design competitions. It's an important thing. That doesn't necessarily mean that our student designers don't measure up, but because of the nature of our institution as a largely, almost entirely undergraduate one, at the KCACTF level, students compete. It's all college students, whether they're a 45-year-old graduate student who's decided to come back and get an MFA, or they're a 20-year-old or even an 18-year-old right out of high school. So the design competitions historically have been dominated, if you will, by MFA students from some of the best schools in the Southeast, the major state research universities. And similarly, that's just to a lesser degree true, I think, in terms of acting. We have had students do well in the Irene Ryan competitions. Multiple years of having students make the semifinal round, multiple years even of students making the final round, and in a couple instances, we've had multiple people make the final round. But multiple people in the same year make the final round. But we've only ever won a single award in acting, and it wasn't an actual regional, or wasn't an actual Irene Ryan winner. It was an award for classical acting, the best classical actor at the festival that year.
Is it true that you competed in KCACTF competitions when you were in college?
Yes, it is. Not as an Irene Ryan. I did work as a scene partner with 1 person, and more importantly, at the regional level, as I mentioned, people come and view plays on our campuses, and then they make recommendations not only about the student work in the play, but about the play itself. And productions can be either recommended or highly recommended for the regional festival. And then a selection committee chooses generally somewhere between 4 and 6 productions that will be presented at the regional level. When I was a student in graduate school, I was in an original play that won a national playwriting award, in multiple reasons, I suppose, but because it was a winning play, we did it as part of our season, and then it was invited to the region. And back in those days, it was possible for a play to be invited or taken all the way to the Kennedy Center. So the production that I was in went to our regional festival, and then it went all the way to the Kennedy Center as well. And that's largely, I guess, how I participated. In my graduate school, the institution I went to also hosted a region. So I did a lot of other things when we hosted.
In your experience, how has the festival changed over the years?
I guess I would say it's more about how things have been modified. I think constantly, like just about everything in education, there's a desire to make it better. So there are a number of things that people have done to adjust. And then there are some things that for budgetary reasons have changed. And so on a negative aspect would be those budgetary things. On the positive aspect, some things about the structure of the Irene Ryan competition have changed. For a period of time, particularly when I was a student, it had kind of morphed, I think, into a competition that celebrated the performer more than the actor. And now it is much more an acting competition, I think, in this way it's structured. The structure actually used to be very similar in terms of scenes and how long the scenes could be, but what has changed is the focus of them. It used to be possible for someone who, say, would be a very gifted musical theater performer to do a scene from a musical and largely be just singing it by themselves. And now you have to sing in duets. You have to act the song. You can't just be. I don't mean that as a negative, but you can't only be a great show person or performer. You have to be pursuing the kinds of things that we as actors constantly pursue. And then the negative, probably the big negative, is that about 2 or 3 years ago now, maybe 3. Due to some of the budget cuts that occurred in around 2010, the national festival no longer brings full productions. There's still a national festival, and students can still go and participate in a lot of different things, but institutions no longer bring a play to the Kennedy Center. And I honestly think that's a terrible loss, personally.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Todd McNerney, the chair of the College of Charleston Department of Theater and Dance. Todd, thank you so much for your time.
Sure, you're welcome.